Hello and welcome back to the Analytics Sports Pod. I am Emil Asaf here with Ethan Love and Spencer Grant. And today, brought to you by SportsCaster, the best website, the best app for young and upcoming sportscaster like us. We are here to talk about basketball. That is what dominates the month of March. And while it usually would be college basketball, we had a spectacular night tonight in the NBA. Bam Adebayo, shout out to Heat Nation, dropped 83 points, the
83 is
second
insane.
most in NBA history. Only second to Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points, which, like Ethan said, we don't even know
It
if
didn't
this
happen.
actually happened.
It did not
It
happen.
might just be NBA propaganda. More points than Kobe Bryant's iconic 81-point game that happened roughly 20 years ago. We witnessed NBA history on a random Tuesday night. We'll get more into the NBA coming in the future, but this is monumental. But now, we're going to stick with what the focus of this episode was. And that right there is March Madness. We have Selection Sunday coming up. And that means that the number one seeds in the country are about to be picked. It looks like Duke sitting number one in the AP poll. Dominant season will be one of them. Michigan, another extremely dominant team. One of their only losses being to Duke. And Arizona, who hit their stride like crazy. Those are going to be three of the one seeds, but there's one spot left for grabs. And before Selection Sunday, before the conference tournaments, we have to pick who we think it will be. Guys, who do we think? Who are we rolling with right now?
I got a team. They've only lost 2 games this entire year. They're from a
Yep.
premier conference. They've been here. They've done it before, and that's the Florida Gators.
Mm.
They have hit their stride. It was a little rough early in the season, but good coaching takes you out of it. They're on an 11-game winning streak.
Yep.
11 in the SEC. That cannot be understated. We got to see how they do in the conference tournament. But if they keep rolling how they are, genuinely, with their size and talent and coaching, could they repeat? Could they repeat? I don't know. I mean, it could happen. But the thing is, like, their wins have been dominant too.
Yeah.
Most,
Yeah.
if you go look at their schedule, like, they're winning these games by like over 10. These are dominant blowout wins. These aren't just like scraping by on a last second shot or something goes your way at the end. So I don't know, with the SEC and how they've been rolling, they've been here, they've done it before. I know that really shouldn't be considered, but I feel like subconsciously you kind of have to. I think Florida takes that 1 seed easily.
Yeah, I don't hate the pick there just because of what you mentioned, right? This is the defending champion. That does come into play a little bit because those one seeds are supposed to be the teams most likely to make it to the final four. Minus Florida as well. I'm gonna piggyback off of you, and it comes down to this. This team is number 4 on the Ken Palm right now, 35 plus net rating. I know I kind of dismissed the Ken Palm in the past, but I found out that 10 out of the last 10 teams that finished with a 35 or higher in net rating during the regular season all have made it to the final four. This Florida team right here, like you mentioned, 11-game win streak. 9 of those wins have been by double digits. They are flat out destroying teams. And it's really the trio that they have with Thomas Haw and Alex Condon, with Ruben Shinyalu. Just these 3 big men, 6'10 plus, combining for 43 points per game, 25 rebounds, flat out dominating, while this team in February shot 36% from 3. Like you mentioned, they started slow. They couldn't shoot the basketball. They're now putting it together. 11-game win streak because this team can shoot the basketball, and they're huge up front. This might be the best team in college basketball. I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm not afraid to say what you were afraid to say, and that was that they might repeat. Spencer?
Absolutely. I was going to go with Florida because it's the easy pick. I wanted to go a little bit
Yeah.
outside the box. But before I get to that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan, doesn't Houston, or not Houston, excuse me, spoiler alert, doesn't Florida also have, I think, like the 4th or 5th strength of record as well? It's not like they're beating bums. And the
Yeah,
SEC,
exactly.
if they're destroying teams throughout that conference, especially toward the end of the year when injuries tend to pile up, or teams really start to reveal who they are. For Florida to hit their stride at this point in the season, when we see a lot of teams, including my pick in the Houston Cougars, kind of have a little bit of a slide, even if it's just a
Yeah.
couple games at the worst possible time. Credit to the Gators, the defending champions. Can't forget them. And the SEC as a conference as a whole, kind of a shout out to them as well. I want to pivot a little bit. Personally, I thought Florida has the best shot from a committee standpoint, but I really got to stick with my Big 12 endorsement that I've had recently and take the Houston Cougars. I really wanted to make Iowa State my pick, but I
Mhm.
really wanted them to have some end of season statements. But since they didn't, I'm taking the fifth ranked Cougars. When I look at Houston, I see a team that has struggled a little bit lately since facing some other high ranking Big 12 competition, but that's it. Last episode, I claimed the Big 12 as the strongest conference in college basketball, and I stand by that when I say I do not care that they slid against a few teams, a strong Kansas team, and two teams that
Yeah.
either are or could very well be number one seeds for the type of talent that they have around them. Despite losing to Iowa State, I still think the Cyclones' losses as of late are more concerning than Houston. So although Florida is the easy answer, I'm showing some Dallas love to the boys down in H-Town, and I can't wait to see what they do here in a couple weeks. I wouldn't hate either of
Yeah.
those picks. I think they both deserve
Yeah.
it. But my argument for Florida with the strength of the SEC is kind of how I feel about the strength of the Big 12 and Houston.
Yeah, right now the SEC is the top conference when it comes to net rating, according to the KenPom. The Big 12 has the teams with the most experience, the most teams ranked in the top 15. We saw what Texas Tech was able to do even after JT Toppin, their star, went down. Houston, like you mentioned, they lost 3 straight games for the first time in 5+ years, and those were Kansas, Iowa State, and
Arizona.
it was Arizona. The last one was Arizona, and these teams are the elites of college basketball. So
Hmm.
definitely understandable choices all there. But we have to flip the script a little bit now, and we have to be haters. We were giving a lot of praise to these potential one seeds, but now we have to go look at some of the projected 2, 3, 4, maybe even one seeds right now and say, who do we think will be an early exit once this March Madness tournament starts? And Spencer, I know you get riled up about this topic, so we're going to go ahead and start with you.
Okay. And I need to preface this. I say this with love. Oh, Purdue, my sweet Boilermakers, where do I even begin? I love you to death, but
Yeah.
a team that started the season 17-1, but has since gone 6-7, just seems destined to fall flat in an early tournament round, whether it be the first or the second. Need I remind you, Purdue, as of the past couple years, is the second team to get upset by the 16th seed. I forget
Yep.
who it was, but they are impressively the second team to have ever been upset as the one seed from the bottom seed. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, why does it seem like every team who plays the Boilermakers all of a sudden turns into the 2024 Celtics? I'm telling you, they do not miss. It doesn't matter if it's Ohio State or Northwestern or Indiana or Illinois. Every team that they seem to play, scoring looks like they're playing against a JV squad, while the Boilermakers, it looks unbelievably difficult to put even minuscule points on the board. I'm not just talking about chucking up threes and getting hot at the
Yeah.
right moment. I'm talking about creating high percentage shots within the mid range to under the rim. It's just they have size. They just play so slow and so small. And it hurts to watch. They've largely failed every test that's come their way this season, from their first loss in Iowa State, which quite frankly should have been the first red flag, to Michigan
Yeah.
and Michigan State. And what the worst part of all of this is that you look at some of their road wins against Alabama and against Nebraska, and you can tell that this team has the talent to go far. They've clearly been there, done that before. They just very seldomly seem to rise to the occasion. Is this a program that's been a Zach Edey merchant? Please prove me wrong, Boilers. I am begging you. I don't know if I can stomach another early Purdue exit, but I can't help but feel that it is inevitable for those poor seniors.
Yeah, and that was the Zach Edey team that lost to the 16th seed as well. No, you mentioned the Michigan game, which we talked about last episode. It never felt close. It never has felt like this Purdue team outside of when Zach Edey won the National Player of the Year really has had what it takes to make a deep run, which in that case they did, and then they got absolutely cooked by UConn in the national championship. Now, I will say, you mentioned one team, which I think, as a result of them losing to Purdue, is even more fraudulent, and I think will be an early exit alongside Purdue, and that is going to be Nebraska. The last time they had a ranked win was January 2nd against Michigan State, where Michigan State only scored 56 points. This is a
Oof.
team that's coming off their last game of the regular season was an overtime win against Iowa, which saved being swept by Iowa. The game before that was a 20-point loss to UCLA, a program that we've seen the clips with the coach kind of embarrassing his players and snapping at coaches. That's a program that's an absolute mess. And I simply don't trust the Nebraska offense. They seem like the team that's going to stall in the tournament, and a 14 or 15 seed, like you mentioned, will catch fire against one of these teams, but specifically against Nebraska, because their offensive rating is 119. That is the lowest out of the top 37 teams on the KenPom. This is a team that's 125th in pace. When you play slow and your shooters kind of cool off, you're almost done for. And then, like I mentioned with shooters. They are 96th in 3-point percentage. This is an offense I don't trust. I don't care how good the Nebraska defense is. They're poised to make an early exit.
Yeah, Emil, I agree with both of you. I think both of those teams can fizzle out. I have a bit of a mainstay for my pick. This team seems to just appear out of nowhere every single March and at least go a couple rounds. Maybe not as high of a seed as you guys are saying, but
Yeah.
I think St. Mary's is bound to get bounced in the first round. They're
Ooh.
projected as 7th seed right now in different bracket projections that I've seen, and that does not bode well for them. Right now, I've seen people kind of say that they're going to pull Mizzou. If they pull an SEC team or like a Big 12 team like TCU or something like
Don't
that,
let them catch TCU. Don't
yeah,
let them catch TCU.
Never
It's
that.
over.
that is bad news for them. And they just lost in the first round of the West Coast Conference tournament. They lost to Santa Clara by
Yep.
5, which is not great for them going into this tournament. It might drop them down a little bit in the seeding goes, but they've had a good regular season. It just seems like this is the team that always gets a lot of hype going into March Madness, and they seem to fizzle out after 2, maybe they make it 3 rounds. But I think this year they're bound to get bounced in the first round.
Yeah, shout out to all the sicko fans that stayed up for that West Coast game against Santa Clara. That was a good one. But yeah, with you're absolutely right. That's a team put together a great regular season. All these teams put together a great regular
Yeah.
season, but they could be bound to get upset. And there's always those teams that kind of end up being the Cinderellas. And despite looking like somebody that couldn't put anything together throughout the regular season, they just find that spark in March. I think that we should start with you guys because I know you guys have some very unique approaches to who you think your Cinderella will be. Ethan, I know your team was kind of in the balance tonight. Go
They
ahead and get
were.
us started with that one.
They were. I've been rooting for this team. If you guys did see my hot take on SportsCaster app, you know how I feel about the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks.
Yes,
The
sir.
aura surrounding their team. The Texas teams always seem to have a little bit of magic when it comes to
Yep.
March. We saw McNeese last year do some great things from the Southland Conference. SFA this year completely turned around their program. Their coach actually coached at UNT with Texas Tech head coach, and they've been doing great at Texas Tech. And so now he's bringing some of that to SFA. And, man, can I talk about this dude, Keon Thompson? This dude is an absolute dog. He's shooting 50% from the field, 18 points per game. And they just won the Southland Conference tournament against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Close game, I will say. That's the one red flag that I get from SFA is that a lot of their games are close. They have a great record, obviously. They're going to make more now after they've won the tournament. But perhaps the aura reason. They have a guy on their team who gets rotational minutes. His name is Sean Christmas. And I can just see it now, Kevin Harlan saying, "It's Christmas in March." And it's a buzzer beater against Purdue or something. And
Yeah.
SFA, the 15 seed, comes in and upsets. Like, I could totally
For
see
sure,
it.
Purdue.
This conference is always competitive. We saw it with McNeese. Like I said, I don't know. There's just something about the Lumberjacks. Nobody can really predict Cinderellas, but they got to have that magic factor, and the Lumberjacks just do.
Yeah, it's what you talk about with the magic, right? Just sometimes you gotta get the rebound on a weird bounce, win a close game when you weren't supposed to win. And that's the story of Miami, Ohio, who Again,
Ooh.
31-0 in the regular season. How on earth is it a question that this team should get in the tournament?
Yeah,
They
that's
absolutely should be in the
insane.
tournament. Even if they don't win the MAC, there's rumors that they might not get in. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And it just speaks to what a Cinderella is. It's a team that gets overlooked because maybe they had some close games against bad teams, but they found a way to win. This is a team that if they win the MAC, they'll probably be a 9 seed at most, and they'll get to face a 1 seed in the second round. I am picking Miami, Ohio over whichever 1 seed you put in front of them, just because of this. It's not just the magic factor, it's the offense on this team. 87 points per game, ninth in the country. 51% from the field, seventh in the country. Almost 10 3-point makes per game from this team, and 7 players scoring in double figures. Are you kidding me? They have all the scoring factors, not just one guy that's carrying them like we've seen in some of the previous Cinderellas. And 3-0 so far in overtime games. Don't be surprised if they get into overtime with a 1 seed and end up being the Cinderella talked about for ages. Spencer, I know you got a good one for us too.
I love the Miami of Ohio undefeated love. Do you remember back in like 2013, shades of that like 33-0 Wichita State
Wichita
Shockers
State,
team
Mm,
that
Ron Baker.
just yeah, that's the vibes I get from Miami of Ohio. But here's my thing. I gotta show some love to our boys from the Northeast in the Ivy League. As I mentioned in my hot take on the SportsCaster app, the Yale Bulldogs are my pick to be a Cinderella this year. They've already avenged their loss to Harvard, and at the end of the season, I said that their rematch against Princeton would be a good indicator of where this team was at. They then proceeded to demolish the Tigers by 25 to enter the Ivy League tournament at 23-5. They look to avenge a recent 3-point loss to other rival Cornell. And if Yale can keep righting their wrongs, I would not want to face them early on. They're led by my boy, star power forward Nick Townsend, who leads all major offensive categories. He leads them with 16.5 points per game, 4 assists, shooting almost 52% from the field. And let me tell you, boys, let's not forget that these same Bulldogs took down fourth seeded Auburn just 2 years ago as the 13th seed. And this was an
Yep.
Auburn program that would go to the Natty the following year. So who knows how far that Tiger team would have gotten had they not run into those hungry Bulldogs in round one. I'm telling you, I would not want to face these boys if they make it through the Ivy League tournament with any type of momentum.
Yeah, something about the Ivy League. It's smart basketball and 3-point shooting. It's just a
It's an
beautiful
enigma.
combination. It really is. And it builds Cinderellas. And, that's part of the hype of what comes with the March Madness tournament. Part of the hype is also seeing the tremendous teams, the 1 seeds, etc. But also, it's about the anticipation of some of these prospects that we're going to see in the NBA next season. We touched the NBA a little bit with Bam Adebayo, but now we have to turn to a complete regular season that some of the freshmen and potential draft candidates have put together. And the question is still there. Who is going to go number one overall? Now that we've seen this complete season out of these players, but as well factoring our March Madness predictions, it's really between 3 players, which I hope all 3 of us are picking one of these guys. It's Boozer, DeBonza, or Peterson. So, guys, who are we rolling with?
I got DeBonza. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, he's averaging 25 and shooting over 50% in the Big 12, and he's putting BYU on his back. And he's like the character guy you want to. Like, this guy stayed in his home state. He wanted to go to BYU. You can tell that he has loyalty.
Yeah.
I don't see how it's not him at 6'9", 210 as well. This is a premier prospect, a great talent, and a great dude, it seems like, from the outside. I don't know who wouldn't want to start their franchise and rebuild around this guy. I don't.
Ethan, I think you're absolutely right, and I want to come at that from a little bit different of a perspective because I'm also riding with DeBonza, and I think recently in the past month or so, when BYU's star point guard Richie Saunders went out for the season, he's had to carry more and more of that team's load, and for the most part, he's continued to put the team on his back. And I will say, 3 straight losses to UCF, West Virginia, and Cincinnati. West Virginia and Cincinnati are sneakily decent teams. That just goes to show, like we've talked about, how deep the Big 12 is as far as their teams that haven't even cracked the top 25 yet, how much they really just beat each other up throughout the season. But it'll all really come down. It almost negates their wins against Iowa State and Texas Tech. And so I'm looking at how far he can take the Cougars in the tournament. If they do go far, it should be no question that his name will be called first in a few months.
Right. Winning can change things at the end of the day. I want it to be different from you guys. I'm going with Devonsa as well, unless the following happens. If Cameron Boozer, who is going to win the Naismith Player of the Year, who is leading a #1 AP ranked Duke, who is really a comparison of what Paulo Banchero was, kind of that tall point forward that can score, that can assist, can do absolutely anything. If he can take Duke to the top of the mountain, there's a chance that he goes #1 overall. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think so. I think absolutely not. Like you guys mentioned, Devonsa is a Kevin Durant type of scorer at that size with that length, but he has the freaky athleticism that you see out of LeBron James with obviously less pounds, but the vertical, the speed. He's not a smooth scorer like Kevin Durant, but it's the size and the athleticism. It's all about potential with the NBA. This guy just turned 19 years old.
Mhm.
Unless Boozer goes literally all the way and wins this tournament with Duke, it's no question him. Now, I will say the anticipation of seeing who is going to win it all is the biggest part of March Madness, but it's also the biggest part of the anticipation of other leagues. Obviously, we want to see who wins in the NBA, but especially now with opening day coming up, we want to see who is going to be able to take down the Dodgers. So, next episode, we are going to talk
Somebody's got to
about
do it.
opening day in MLB. Somebody's got to do it. Please save us.
I
Give
Don't
me the
let
can't
it be a
handle a
Pirates.
three-peat.
four-peat.
Man, we'll have to see. It looks grim. I'll say that. There's other debates surrounding what the MLB season that's coming up as well, which includes who we think our best pitcher is. That is also going to be on Hot Take on Sportscaster. But for now, we'll sign out. Next episode, we'll talk about the MLB. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and make sure y'all keep checking out Sportscaster, the best app, the best website, and the best platform for young and rising sportscasters like us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all on the next one.